The CZ Model 82. Let's check it out. Is known for its really high quality firearms made in the Czech Republic, and of course the CZ75 is a legendary firearm. Moving up to the Shadow and the Shadow 2 and even their P10C series. Those are very modern firearms. But CZ has a long line of different military firearms that they produced for Czechoslovakia. Today we're going to take a look at, to me, one of the pivotal handguns from CZ, and this is the Model 83. It's in 9mm Makarov. They also made the 83, which was in 380 ACP, and that is really for the civilian market. But this has a double stack magazine, it's got double single action, it's all steel. It's just a beautiful handgun. In fact, CZ had continued production up till 2012 on limited runs. Really kind of reminiscent of the Beretta Cheetah or the Browning BDA. But in 9mm Makarov, this gives you a really high-performing round. Really comes in between 9mm Parabellum and your 380 ACP. And for you guys that have Curio and Relics license, this falls within those categories. But guys, one of the things about surplus firearms is when they come into the country, the prices are right because they come in big quantity. But once the supply dries up, these will go up in value. And plus, it just gives you a piece of history. And that's one thing that I really love about these type guns. Now we got this through AIM Surplus, and I want to give a big thank you to those guys for sending the CZ Model 82 for this review. All right guys, we have the CZ Model 82 in 9x18 Makarov. It's a caliber that comes in between 9mm and 380 ACP. And one of the things about the Eastern Bloc countries, especially during the Soviet era, was that they developed calibers that were different than your NATO rounds. But when these were really coming into the country in large numbers, including the standard Makarov pistols, it became a very popular round for self-defense. We're going to get into that. We're going to look at 9x18, the 9x17, which is your 380, and the 9x21, which is 9mm. These were designed in 1982 and went into production in 83, and they are still currently used by the Czech military. It's a very transitional firearm for military surplus, and we'll look at that in a sec. Now, it is CNR licensable, so if you have a CNR license, these do fall under the licensing, but they did offer the Model 83 in 380 ACP. And we're going to look at a couple of differences. There's not a whole lot except for the calibers, but there are some significant differences, and those are not allowed because they didn't end production until 2012. So let's go ahead and make sure the gun is unloaded. We have 12 rounds of Makarov ammunition plus one, and the gun is empty. First thing, with the hammer in the rear position, what I love about this handgun is it does not have a magazine disconnect, safety. So if I take the magazine out, I can still function the handgun. And these magazines are excellent. They also fit in the 380 ACP version as well, which holds 13 plus 1. We have polycarbonate grips, and they do have finger rest here, and then they have checkering on the side, but the back is smooth and the front is pretty smooth except for the importation marks. And it does have a little bit of a hook here at the bottom, so it just kind of fits in your hand very well. And these grips are very ergonomic. Now, you can get aftermarket grips. These were very plentiful. In fact, CZ was offering these for a number of years repairs here in the U.S. So there's a lot of aftermarket support, and we're going to talk about that as well. I love that it has not only your magazine release, but it's an ambi-mag release. So I can hit that and drop it, and I got my finger caught because usually it'll drop out pretty good. And also ambidextrous frame safety on either side, and then you have your slide safety. The slide rides low, so it does have a lot of serrations, and they're fairly easy to grab. And we have serrations along the top of the slide, and that's just going to cut down on glare. We have a pinned front sight, and it actually fits in like the CZ75 through the front. And we have a dovetailed rear sight. Now these sights are combat style sights. They're not all that much to talk about, but you can get aftermarket sights for these. In fact, they even offer night sights. It looks like it has more of a baked on finish, which is typical for your early CZs, the CZ75s, but it does hold up pretty well. In fact, this is a really nice example from AIM Surplus. They did a great job, and this has a large trigger guard, and that's great for gloved hands, which in Czech Republic you probably need it. We do have a lanyard loop at the bottom of your mag well, which this does not come on the 380 ACP model. Here are your arsenal marks, SHE, and the year, 1988, and your armory marks. And we have the serial numbers, and they're all matching. Small ejection port, and we have an external extractor. And then as far as the way the action works, insert your magazine, go ahead and bring your slide, your feet in your rounds, and then the hammer's in the rear position. You can carry this cocked and locked. But this is in single action mode, so every shot is going to be single action and the hammer is going to come back, and it's a very light trigger pull. But if you fire this double action, you are pulling that trigger all the way back, and it's really heavy. We're going to test that trigger out and look a little bit more at it in a second. But a very narrow front end, and these actually were closely aligned with the Beretta Cheetah. Now this is the model 84, and these are excellent handguns, double stack magazines, double single action. And we have the Browning BDA, which is pretty much the same style. But yet, these are both in 380, and we have the CZ in 9mm Makarov. Now, the CZ Model 83 was in 380 ACP. It holds 13+1, and again, they use the same magazines. And these have been very popular, but the 9mm Makarov gives you really 380 plus P plus. So it gives you extra capacity, and it gives you better velocity and ballistics. Really a better self-defense round, but not quite as much as your 9mm. Now the barrel is 3.8 inches in length. It has polygonal grooves, and that is just for the military version. The standard 380 ACP had lands and grooves, and it's your traditional rifling. Also, the 83 had a chrome lined barrel, so that gave it a little more life, and that makes it actually a little more appealing. And here you can see it's a pretty considerable difference between 9mm Makarov, and your 380 ACP. The Makarov is actually 9x18. 380 ACP is 9x17, and your 9mm is 9x21. But this is a considerably better round for self-defense. The Makarov's going about 950 to 1100 feet per second, 95 grain bullet. With the 380 ACP, it's 850 to 950 feet per second. So you have a considerable amount more of velocity. And the bullet on the Makarov ammunition is .635, it's .355 on 380. This really acts like a 380 plus P. And while this may seem like a kind of obscure round, there are a lot of different ammo choices out there that you can get. But 380 ACP is definitely going to be easier to find. Now that double action trigger pull is pretty heavy, so we have a little bit of take up, and then it's all the way to the back. This isn't as heavy as some, but we'll check the weight on it. And then reset right about there. Now when we go to single action, take ups right to here, a little bit of stacking, and then a break. It's not really crisp, but it's not bad. Okay, we're going to check our trigger pull weight with our Lyman trigger gauge from Brownells. 8 pounds, 10 ounces. We're getting about that every time. Single action, 3 pounds, 13.9 ounces. Not bad, just has a little bit of play in it, but it has that fixed barrel design, so we're getting good accuracy. Now the Model 83 replaced the CZ Model 52, and this is in 7.62 by 2.5 Makarov. It's a very hot round, but it's an ugly handgun, and it has a hill-type mag release. It's single stack, And I mean, this is old school. But the one thing about that ammunition for the Makarov is that it is really a hot round. And so while when these were coming into the country, they were fairly reasonable, and then people started buying them just for the round. And then the prices went up. And that's typically what happens with a lot of your surplus guns. But we're going to be doing a complete comparison with a lot of the CZ firearms and the different lineup, because they did make quite a few, and I have a lot of them because I'm a big CZ fan. Now when it comes to the CZ 83 versus the 82, you definitely have that 380 ACP. It's going to be more plentiful. You know, it does have an extra round. It's softer to shoot. The 9mm Makarov definitely has more punch to it, but it's still very controllable. Again, you can get the magazines, the grips, everything else for this handgun as well. We don't have the lanyard loop on the 380 ACP, and we have standard lands and grooves in the rifling of the barrel, which again, we have the polygonal and it's chrome lined. Other than that, it's pretty much the same handgun. Now guys, this being a surplus pistol, it makes it kind of cool to get original holsters. You have an all leather holster. We have our belts loops here. Has a nice little snap. I mean, this is just pretty cool, and it's authentic. I mean, it's a real Czech Republic holster. Then we have a magazine carrier as well, and you do get an extra magazine. So it does come with 2 magazines, and again, these are interchangeable with your 380 ACP mags. And at least that's what AIM Surplus is including with the handguns. With the military holster, that's cool, it's vintage, but you can get replacement grips, you can get magazines, sight replacement, you can get different parts and different modern holsters for these because they have been so popular. So there is a lot that you can do with this to bring this up to really a modern handgun design to carry on an everyday basis. Again, it's just the weight is a little bit heavy with the all steel frame. And speaking of weight, we're coming in at 27.85 ounces. So it's a little heavy, but there are a lot of polymer striker fire pistols that are bigger that people carry. Well, a big thank you to Fiocchi for sponsoring our ammo, all made in the USA, one of the biggest suppliers of ammunition in the country. One additional benefit to Fiocchi is they make a lot of the military calibers. And so here with the Makarov, a number of different calibers, and that's really where I got my start with Fiocchi, finding ammunition for surplus guns. So good stuff and good quality. All right guys, we have the CZ82. This is just an excellent handgun, double single action, has a double stack magazine, and so it just kind of gets up there to the Beretta Model 84 or even the Browning BDA. So it gives you that double stack mag, and yet you have that double single action. Very smooth firearm. Now this is again in the 9mm Makarov, and it has a little punch to it. Its recoil impulse is what brings the slide back, and you're not getting that softer feel that you get with a typical recoil spring system or and guide rod. But it's still a pleasure to shoot. It just has a little more power. And obviously with the Soviet bloc, the 9mm Makarov was just one of those rounds that they carried. It definitely has a punch to it. With the grip, it feels your hand. It has these little swells here that just allow you to get a good, solid, firm, confident grip. Sights, not too bad, especially for these type pistols, but just a little blade at the back and just a little ramp at the front. And then we had those serrations on the top, so it keeps down on glare. These have been coming into the country, and again, through AIM Surplus. And guys, now is the time to pick these up. In fact, these were in production for many years, even on the civilian market, but in 380 ACP. And here we have the Model 83 in 380. And this was really designed for the civilian market. The 9mm Makarov was mainly for military use. Much softer to shoot. You can get the Makarov ammunition around. There's a lot of different companies that make it, but with the 380, it's a lot more available. But this has more power to it. And while 380 ACP is a fairly decent self-defense caliber, if you have the proper ammunition, 9mm Makarov is that in-between between 9mm and 380, and it definitely has some power to it. and it's been very popular. So I think I have just a couple of more rounds left. Exactly. Holds the slide open. A very ergonomic little pistol, and yet it has that heft, and with the 9mm Makarov, you're going to enjoy that heft. All right, what do you think about the difference between the Makarov and the 380?
I think the Makarov's a little snappier. It feels like the 380, I have a lot more control over it. So I think I like the 380 a lot better. I've never really shot 9 Makarov, which is not bad. Like, it feels good in the hands. But the 380, I just feel like I have a little bit more control, not as much variable in it. Which I love how this one shoots. It's really nice. It's very smooth.
Yeah, me too. But the 9mm Makarov just has more power, so it's a better self-defense caliber.
Yeah, definitely, yeah. Yeah, I would say I would definitely rather have the Makarov for self-defense, but I don't know, just shooting, I feel like I just can dial this one in.
Yeah, very pointable.
Very pointable.
Guys, many of you know I'm a huge fan of Maxpedition. I've been reviewing their gear since 2010, and I still use their gear on a regular basis. So they're running their BOGO, which means buy one, get one free. Really, you're paying about half price for some of the best quality gear out there. Now, this sale is going to run to the end of the year in 2025, but they do run these BOGOs on occasion. And this is for their Legacy series. I'll have a link down below in the description that'll take you straight to the BOGO, and we really appreciate Maxpedition for their sponsorship. All right, for disassembly, we're going to drop our magazine, go ahead and check the chamber, make sure the gun is empty. Now, this is a little different than your Walther design, even though it is a fixed barrel blowback design. You still pull the trigger guard down, but it is pretty stiff. There we go, and it pops just like this, and it'll stay in that position. Then take the slide, bring it all the way back, lift up, and it'll come right off. We have our recoil spring, which goes over the barrel. And guys, that's pretty much it. So it's pretty simple to disassemble. Again, we have our fixed barrel, and this lends, again, to good accuracy. We have a nice feed ramp, a little bit dirty. And here I've cleaned it up just a little bit for you to see it. It's definitely just feeds those rounds in. We did not have any kind of malfunctions with this handgun. I mean, this is built for combat. Slide, I mean, everything is so well done. It's that old school design and craftsmanship. And that's pretty much it, guys. Then you take your recoil spring, put it back over your barrel, and then we just enter it in, bring it all the way back, and then drop it, and then we're done. And then you just pop in your trigger guard. I mean, overall, this is a very simple design, and simplicity lends to reliability a lot of times, especially with a good design. And again, this is a CZ, so it's top notch. Now, when it comes to price, at AIM Surplus, they're $349, and that does come with the holster, the extra magazine, and the magazine carrier. If you're looking for the Model 83, these are running $419. And because of 380 ACP, it's just more plentiful, and so these are a little more popular. But as far as for self-defense, I would really choose the 9x18 Makarov. What are some pros and cons? First off, it's military surplus. These are going to go up in value over the years as soon as supply dries up, and we've seen that over and over. Yeah, it's not as cheap as it used to be, but those days are pretty much over. One great thing about this particular handgun is you can get replacement grips, sights, you can get modern holsters, you can get extra magazines and parts. I mean, there is a lot around these, and really it's a pretty modern firearm design. No, it's not the polymer striker fire, but it's a great double action, very small handgun that is capable. This really acts like a 380 plus P. Now, when it comes to the ammunition, obviously 380 ACP is going to be easier to find, but there is plenty of 9mm Makarov ammunition out there, even steel cased ammunition, which is used in these firearms. But we're going to give it a little bit of a plus for the 380 model. But for self-defense, your 9mm Makarov is going to be a better choice. Now these are Curio and Relics eligible, so that makes it a little bit easier to get because it is more of a historical firearm. When it comes to the Model 83, they were discontinued in 2012, so they are not eligible right now. Only the Model 82. And if you can find one in 32 ACP, that would be a plus as well, and it holds 15 plus 1. The downsides is it's a little heavy. You know, it's all steel, but even though it's all steel, that frame is not all that heavy, and we're coming in at around 27, 28 ounces. And some people just like to carry older style firearms. So overall, it's a great handgun. It has a lot of history behind it. And again, these surplus firearms, you're going to get them for a heck of a lot cheaper than it would be to manufacture them. And then when the supply dwindles, then they're going to go up in price. The CZ82, a high quality military surplus firearm and honestly a pivotal design for CZ, which led into the CZ75. The double stack magazine, double single action, it's all steel, and guys, with that 9mm Makarov, it really gives you a lot of power for a small pistol. And while these surplus firearms are coming into the country, the prices are right. And again, a big thank you to AIM Surplus for sending the CZ Model 82 for this review. Be strong, be of good courage. God bless America, long live the Republic. The 9x18 with the 380 with the and we got the thank you, sir.
You're welcome.
High quality. Czech is known for its really big, whatever they are known for. Very nice pull. So fudge, that just sounds like poo pop, whatever poo pop is.
Lock in, twin.
Two were definitely a couple that were like, you know, something nice and something nice.
Time to get wrecked.
Yeah, something nice. Now for disassembly, we're gonna drop our magazine. This is a blah 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 blah. God.